We have an unidentified flying object.
Researcher on a mission with Dr. J Andy Ilias.
We have an unidentified flying object.
Welcome back to another episode of Dr. J Radio Live. I'm your host, of course, Dr. J. We're going to be talking about how to merge your conscious and subconscious and why it is so important and what you can unlock, what abilities you can unlock by doing so. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our next guest, and he's the founder of Zox Pro. And without further ado, I'm going to let him explain to you what that is, by the way. And without further ado, let's go ahead and bring him on, Mr. Shannon Panzo. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Well, hi there, Dr. J. Thank you for having me on the show today. I'm sure that we'll create some interest and intrigue for your clientele out there.
Absolutely. I think what you're doing and what you're teaching out there is extremely important. Now, before we go, I guess maybe we can define Zox Pro a little later. Let's just go to the basic reason of why I invited you to be in particular with this interview right after Edgar Mitchell. And that is integrating your conscious and your subconscious memory. What are the benefits of bridging the two consciousnesses?
Well, whenever you bridge the conscious mind with the subconscious mind, it gives you a great avenue to do anything that you want to better, easier, faster, and just makes life a lot easier overall. And the reason why this is because quite often our conscious mind and our subconscious mind are not in agreement with each other. And this causes a conundrum within yourself. And this is almost the same as lying to yourself. That is going to create undue stress, and ultimately things like that can literally lead to disease, which again, we're going down a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but the point is there's a lot of different things that can happen if you do not actually have your conscious mind working alongside your subconscious mind and integrating the two of them together for a common goal.
Is everybody out there that's listening to this capable of doing this, or is it just certain people such as Leonardo da Vinci or Nikola Tesla, or those people, the visionaries who were thinking outside the box and contributed to mankind in such ways that other people sort of can't?
Well, I think a lot of the times we're led to believe that we have to be special, that we have to have superhuman powers in order to achieve such things. And it's actually a complete falsehood. No, we don't have to be superhuman. No, we don't have to be something special. Everyone can actually do these things. Primarily, it starts with meditation. Whenever you want to talk with your subconscious, which typically during your average day is not, even though it's sitting in the background doing all of its functions and doing all of the little quirkisms that control you and how you act in certain circumstances, even though it's doing all those things, we're not necessarily in control of it or in contact with it at that point. And that's when our conscious mind is actually driving the car, if you will. And we go along and we decide, okay, we want to make contact with our subconscious. We want to start controlling our own life and our own destiny through our subconscious. So what do? Meditation. That is the first and easiest way to get involved in dealing with your subconscious. And there's a lot of different forms of meditation out there. Basically, they all involve some form of relaxation, a relaxed state of mind, so that you have easier access to your subconscious. And then from accessing your subconscious, you can then go about doing some incredible things in your life. You can actually start programming your life and creating the good things to happen to you in your life. And all at the same time that you're doing this, you're being very expedient and very efficient at actually accomplishing things in your life. Now the first step, now wait for it, guys. Here we go. The first step that you should take if you really want to get down and dirty with the subconscious, stop watching all that TV. That TV is very destructive. See, TV, what happens there is you're living your life through somebody else's eyes. And unfortunately, some of the shows that are demonstrated on TV are not in your best interest. If you are the type of person that likes to watch, let's say, police shows, well, there's a lot of negative things that happen in those police shows. Do you want negativity of that nature showing up in your life? Well, the TV hypnotizes you. And likewise, you're going to have a lot of those types of things rolling over into your life, those dramas rolling over into your life and recreating themselves in your life because you're being hypnotized by the TV, then you're watching the police shows and all these encounters. And by the way, another thing that does, it makes things that are not okay, they make them seem okay to have happen around you. It kind of glosses over what it's really all about. So the point is we don't want you to be saturated by that. We want you to have really good information coming through. So turn off the TV, or at least be wise about what content you're actually watching on TV. Remember, most of all TV has already been censored to agendas that you actually generally know nothing about. So that's another reason why you should not be watching TV if you're trying to get in tune with your subconscious. If you're one of the masses and you enjoy TV and you're not going to change your ways, then you're not going to change your ways. Then you will have to deal with it accordingly.
It sounds to me that the reason why TV, your brain, when you're watching it, is you're using such a small portion of it. And I gather that the mainstream media obviously wants us to continue to watch TV. It seems to me like they almost want to dumb us down on purpose. Do you get that idea?
Well, the dumbing down is done in many different ways. But for instance, if the TV is giving you a lot of conflicting ideas and conflicting ways of life, and it is not a steady state or a steady stream of information which is conducive to your particular lifestyle, then it actually starts creating questions within yourself. Now, the more confused you are about things in general, then it's harder to make decisions. And organizations like the government, which is part of the dumbing down circumstance, if they don't want to have you be a smart person in regards of how you act and think, then TV is a great avenue to confuse you and create all kind of realities in there in your own mind that simply shouldn't be in there, shouldn't be existing in your own mind. You have one life to live. Live it. And the first thing that you should do every morning, instead of throwing on the news channel, is do a meditation. Why? Because that sets up the rest of your day. That's actually so much more important than anything that's on TV. You can have a hurricane blowing out the window. It's actually more important to get your mind in check first. Then, amazingly, you can deal with that hurricane. If you're assaulted with all these other outside agendas and electronic interference and a number of other things, then likely you're going to lead your day, going through the day, confused. Sure, it's nice to catch up on the news, but that's somebody else's news. that isn't necessarily your news unless you're the person in the middle of the drama.
When you were talking about programming yourself to have the good things that you want in life, a lot of people refer this as manifesting. Is that what you're talking about?
Once you undertake programming in your own subconscious, you can direct your life and you can direct what enters into your life. It's already pre-programmed as to what you have available to you. And amazingly, most people will never, ever be able to fill their cup full of what the universe has to offer them, simply because they're not asking. Through the use of meditation and through the use of programming, you can then ask the universe to provide for you all the things that it's meant to provide for you. And it will. And it'll actually do it at the right time. It'll provide things when you're supposed to have them there. Now, some people have had experiences where they go in, they program something that they think is the answer to all their circumstances. But maybe they programmed it ahead of doing a few things that they needed to do first. Well, they end up getting exactly what they programmed in for, but then they find out, gee, I wasn't quite ready for that. Oh, that's a bit too big for me. So now they have to say, well, gee, I guess I really don't want that because I need to do these other things first. And so this is one of the trappings with the programming. But once you come to terms and understand what the programming is all about, yes, you can manifest a tremendous amount of things. Now, a key thing is having the avenue to exercise your brain in a superior way. Now, that's where our training comes in, because that's part of what we actually undertake. See, whenever you're dealing with life in general, most people move through life making so many smallish decisions that they're surrounded by this cloud, this mazement of indecision. Now, this indecision, because we're forced to make so many large and big decisions every day, it actually can lead to things like depression. Because you finally get to the point where you can make no decision, and that's pretty much where depression leads you. So it's important that you take the opportunity to get real with yourself, get real with your subconscious, start manifesting things in the right way for yourself, take control of your life. And this is the first basic step in taking control of your life. Again, when it comes to exercising your brain, I am sure that you've heard of crossword puzzles, and you've heard of different types of Sudoku and little math games like that. And there's a whole heap of games that you can play with yourself. But what it's been found is that those things do not actually build your brain. What you have to do is you have to encourage what is called neuroplasticity to take place. Now, there's a function of neuroplasticity, which basically says this: if you stress your brain to the point where it must grow, it does. So what that means is if you overtax, whenever you take your brain and you overtax it to a certain threshold, and then you force your brain to think further than that threshold exists, you cause your brain to produce more. You produce more brain cells. You produce more dendrites, which are your memory storage compartments. You produce more neurons. You produce the highways of information flow, this superhighway of information flow. Now, just to bring this topic in a little bit, mental photography typically starts for people at around 25,000 to 50,000 words per minute. Now, our brain loves that because it takes that information and goes gobble, 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 gobble. It loves it. It eats it all up. And it's given to the brain at a rate that is consistently stressing the brain past that threshold to the point where you are actually stimulating the brain to grow. Now, whenever you do this, a natural byproduct of this is your decision making becomes much more clear because the miasma that I was talking about earlier, that cloud, that fog that you walk through every day, it dissipates, it lifts. So whenever you're making your decisions, they become quicker, cleaner, clearer. It's easy. And whenever your decisions become easy, your life becomes easy.
One major thing that other people that we've recently talked about, it seems to me a lot of people are recognizing consciousness. Even Foster Gamble, the heir to the Procter and Gamble empire, recently spoke about a very similar situation where he was trying to understand the universe and he kept meditating and asking for it to solve a certain dilemma he had, and essentially it came through. And then, of course, we had another recent interview who wrote a book on multidimensional traveler where she basically, using meditation and bridging her conscious and subconscious, she too was able to have questions answered by tapping into the universal consciousness. And of course, she talked about some other abilities. Once you unlock this ability and erase this cloud, are you able to have other effects such as psychic abilities?
You are not limited in any way. See, I'm going to give you a simple mathematical equation, and this will require you interacting with me for a moment. If you take a fractional number, say 3%, that's 3 over 100. Okay, that's 3%. And that's typically what a person will deal with their brain power throughout their entire life, is around 3%. Now, we have 97% remaining, which we really don't tap into that much. Now, we use all the regions of our brain. We're just not using the brain power we were born with. So whenever we're looking at that, we go, okay, well, what is 100 over 100? That equals what?
100%. 1.
It equals 1, okay? 1 is your first whole number. Now, there is a reason why I'm saying that, because we're all striving. Every last person on this earth is all striving to reach wholeness. We're all striving to reach 1. Okay, so if we're all striving to reach 1 and it's so far away, well, we have that much room we can be growing. So, yes, you as an ordinary person have a tremendous ability to grow within yourself. It's just locked away. All you have to do is tap into it. How do you tap into it? You tap into it through your subconscious. Use your subconscious as your guiding tool. And yes, integration of your conscious and your subconscious. When you first start doing these things, it's going to feel weird because you're not used to dealing with your subconscious and the things that are locked away in there. But you are not limited in any way. And the more we research this, the more we find that the holographic universe is very real and functional. And we literally are recreating that daily all around us. What we need to do is we need to take control of things and recreate those things in the right way. And that's what manifestation is all about. Bringing in the right things into our life, bringing in the good things. And again, it goes back to the very mundane existence of decision making. The better your decisions, the better your life will be. The more great information that you have to base your decisions on means you're going to have fantastic results with your decision making. And that's going to lead to a better life again.
Another major point that we talked about off air is that a learning curve. It is essentially skyrocketing from the moment of birth, and then the moment we hit, say, preschool or kindergarten, age 4 or 5, we start slowing down. So our learning curve, rather than going up through grade school, high school, college, and beyond, is not necessarily what we should be having. Can you explain to the listeners why that is? Why our learning curve actually starts to go down when we hit school?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Let me take you back a little bit further than what I normally would, because of the topic today. When we are born, our conscious and subconscious are the same thing. It's whenever we start taking on a different paradigm, that's whenever the schism happens and we start not being our subconscious. We start being the conscious mind. And that's what we deal with daily. And the subconscious kind of gets buried and stuck in the corner somewhere. And really our subconscious is the great mover. But whenever you, and about the age of 5, we take on a whole new paradigm. It's called reading. And we actually have to be taught to read. See, we have a fully working photographic eidetic memory when we're born. And this is how we learn so much. And because the two hemispheres of our brain are integrated, our subconscious and our conscious mind are integrated, everything is working as it actually should. At that point there, we are actually at the 100% mark. But as we get older, that depreciates. And sure, there's physical degradation of certain neural pathways and what have you. Things that are unused get set aside. That's fine. But that does not excuse the fact that we can do so much more. So whenever we first learn to read, what happens is we're basically instructed to put away our most valuable asset. We're told to disregard our most valuable asset, and that is called the photographic memory. And the photographic memory still exists because we're born with it, and we've just lost touch with it. So what our organization does is we teach people how to reassociate themselves with the photographic memory and then how to use it throughout your life. Now, the easiest way to do that, obviously, is through gaining a tremendous amount of information. And this is where the mental photography comes in. The mental photography allows you to assimilate information at 25,000, 50,000, 100,000, millions, literally millions of words per minute. So yes, you can do all these things. Whenever we were first doing the testing back around 1975, they pulled up this machine called a tachistoscope. Now, the tachistoscope is in psychological departments, typically in the universities, and what they do is they flash information at subliminal speeds. And these are speeds that are flashing full pages of information, 40 milliseconds or even faster. And then you get to take a test on what you didn't see. You didn't consciously see it, because the conscious mind doesn't even register that even as a flash at those speeds. So what was happening is you can actually take tests on this information, and you can see how well you're scoring on a subliminal basis. Well, our people that had gone through and learned mental photography, they were able to go through the testing and score easily 85 and 90%, whereas the people that had not experienced mental photography using the same machine, well, they didn't do too well. They did, as what you would consider strictly a guessing ratio, and that's pretty much what they attained. So there was a very significant difference between the people that had experienced our process and learned it the correct way, and then utilized it through this method of testing. Now, we don't need a stethoscope today to tell us that we know what is happening, because people all over the world are doing this for themselves. And, okay, we were talking about psychic abilities, okay? if you're a fireman, wouldn't you like to know what's on the other side of the door?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think a movie Backdraft had a really good suggestion there. If you're familiar at all with that movie, well, yes, you do want to know what's on the other side of the door. Well, your intuition and your psychic abilities are enhanced whenever you increase the abilities of your brain. And so it can be what's on the other side of the door. It can be who's calling you on the phone. It can be what's around the next corner. There are so many different ways to view psychic abilities. It really depends upon the person as to how they are going to have it manifest within their life. Most people tend to go towards one thing or another with their psychic abilities. So it really depends on the person. Now, with the ZoxPro training, we get very, very basic. We give you the very specifics in order to have results with the mental photography and with programming and how you can work those things to make a better life for yourself. Now, what we do allow you to do, see, the ZoxPro training is actually a fully working system. But what we do is then we give you the creative license to create your own life, how you choose to create it. We're not going to tell you how to do it. We're going to let you guide yourself and use your own imagination how you want to move your life, in what ways, and then you use the mechanism of the training itself to support your ends. So once you learn ZoxPro training, then let's say you want to become an engineer. Well, if you want to become an engineer, you would be photographing all kinds of books on engineering skills and mathematical skills and things of this nature to amplify your ability to deal with the engineering skills that you're looking for. And then you would also be using your programming to support your ends as well. Now, yes, this is great for school because when people are going to school and college and such, they get the mental photography and they use it for their courses. And instead of them, see, whenever you go to college or you go to university, what happens is you're supposed to be spending no less than 3 to 4 hours of study for every hour of classroom time. So you can quickly turn a college or university experience into absolute drudgery of living in the library, doing nothing but study. Or you can learn this stuff at a phenomenal rate. And by the way, the mental photography, it has 100% retention for life. So all you have to do is mentally photograph your books a few times to get it all. And instead of you taking eons to read books, you might take 10 or 20 minutes to entirely absorb a book that is going to give you everything that you need for that particular course. And then it's just a matter of you showing up for the test, really. We have people that may study 10 minutes a week, in some cases 10 minutes a month, for the full course load that they're taking. Now, granted, that's after you become proficient. But, yes, we have people that do that. And there's many other instances of how people have used this just in wonderful ways. But, okay, you had a question.
Absolutely. I have two, actually. One, I'm going to ask them both at the same time because we got a little under 10 minutes left before break. You mentioned ZoxPro, so I'm going to ask you if you could describe to everybody what is Zoxing. And before you do that, I want to ask you personally, how did you unlock these abilities yourself?
Well, I took the training. I actually took a seminar, and it's called Brain Management. It was given back in I took this originally back in 1986, or maybe 85. But it was about that time. I became an instructor in 1986, though. But in 1985, we'll just say it was 1985, it's probably the end of 1985. In 1985, I took the training for the first time. And during that training, I took it with Richard Welch. He's the founder, he's the father of mental photography. And I took the training, and I found that it had absolutely phenomenal ability. I took the training, turned around, I was given the opportunity to take a test. And this test, I wasn't even qualified to be in the room with everybody else, but they let me in to take this test, kind of chuckling under their breath. And so I went in. I had prior to taking the test, I had gone down to the local library, and why they even I must be a really honest guy, because they let me take out about 30 reference books, which reference books never leave the library. They let me take these out, and I over the next 3 days I did nothing but eat, drink, and sleep the mental photography of what I was doing. And to make a long story short, after doing that for many hours a day and doing the relaxation meditative sessions during that time, what I wound up doing is I wound up walking into this executive level test. And when I walked in there, I looked around, and most of the people were in suit coats. I showed up in jeans. I was feeling a little bit out of place. Anyhow, I go in, and I go in and take this test. Okay, everything's done. And I go to walk out, and the guy says, "Are you sure you're done?" I said, "Yeah." He said, why don't you go check your answers again? So I go back to my seat, look around the room, and everybody's still there. I'm going, oh, okay, I get it. So finally, a couple people leave before me, so I take it up and I hand it in. I didn't change anything. I just handed it in. And then I wait for the test results. Then I get this strange call. And there's a part of the test dealing with logical thinking. And they said, have you ever seen a test like this, this side of the test before? No. Have you ever taken a test like this before? No. Okay. You sure? You didn't cheat? No. Okay. Well, it was the first time that they'd ever seen a score like that come off of one of these logical thinking tests. A first-timer that had never taken a test like that, and basically I kind of blew it out of the water. But anyhow, the point is yes, I found that it was extremely valuable right away, and that we could do just incredible things with our brain if we allow it to manifest. So the mental photography is only the first step in what then becomes a whole process of things that you can do for yourself. The mental photography is great for information. But on brain building, it is a phenomenal brain exercise, and it does what I was talking about earlier. It stimulates the neuroplasticity to come in and actually build your brain even further than what you had before. It is excellent for anybody doing anything, whether you're a bricklayer or whether you are an astronaut. You can use these things for your own well-being and your own gain. And yes, you can be the ordinary person, and we'll teach you how to become the extraordinary person.
You coined the term zoxing. Let's talk about that for a bit. What is zoxing?
Well, zoxing, it's a unique term, and whenever basically what we did is we brought the mental photography, which is actually the brain management seminar, and we have a home study course in between this, and we brought that onto the internet. When we brought it onto the internet, we wanted to create something completely unique. When it came to the name, we wanted to have something that was simple and easy to remember, but we also wanted to create a word that we could then create other things from this. Now, this is very very much thought through. So basically, what we have Zox is our root word. Okay, whenever we Zox something, we're mentally photographing it. Then we have Zoxing, and we also have past tense, which is Zoxed. So we have the present tense, which is Zoxing, past tense, which is Zoxed. A person who Zoxes is a Zoxer. So we've created all these specialized words around. So we have our noun, our pronoun, our adjectives, our verbs, all basically roots of Zox. And that gives us an incredible ability to get our point across to people that this is actually as unique as it does sound.
Now, we have a couple minutes left before we go to break, and I wanted to spend this time for two reasons. I wanted you to give one last piece of advice to all the listeners out there about the importance of this, and then let's go into detail about ZoxPro.com and, of course, where people can learn about this and, of course, read all the amazing testimonials, like you said, from a bricklayer to a fireman to a student to a CEO. I've seen all these testimonials, and I've never seen someone who said they can't unlock these abilities. As a matter of fact, the reason why I chose you for today was because not only am I enrolled in the course, Edgar Mitchell went through this a little over 2 decades ago, and that's what I thought was so fascinating. Where can people find this information, and how can they go about going through this course that you essentially invented, the home course?
The Zox Pro training, the easiest place to find that on the internet is ZoxPro.com. That's spelled Z as in zebra, O, X as in X-ray, P-R-O, like as in professional. So it's ZoxPro.com. That's the easiest place to find it. And from there, we have other websites involved as well. We have a blog that has a whole heap of articles on it called mindtomind.com. But really, if you're just interested specifically in the information about ZoxPro to start with, that's the easiest place to find it, is on ZoxPro.com. Now, what was the other part of the question, please?
If you have one piece of advice or one final message to give to the listeners out there about the importance, I mean, knowledge is power. And so obviously unlocking these abilities, if everyone on this earth did so, I think we could truly get to the next step. From your personal experience, what piece of advice would you give to everyone out there about Zoxing and about the ability to merge the subconscious and conscious?
If you care about your life, and if you care about how your life affects other people, then you need this. Plain and simple. You need this advantage to get you to your next step. Whatever those next steps are, this is the way to go.
Mr. Shannon Panzo, it has been an honor to have you on. Everybody out there, make sure you check out ZoxPro.com, read through the testimonials. There's actually a free item there, actually, the Einstein's distraction method, which to me was a truly fascinating thing. So just by going to the website, you'll already have gained something and be above everybody else. Again, ZoxPro.com. You could see all the information.